Hey guys, how you doing today? I appreciate that, Kim. We're going to get started here with PPW training. I know that a lot of you have probably heard about PPW or maybe use it in different client bases or wherever it is you're receiving work. Today I'm going to be going over our portion of what we expect each contractor to use PPW and how to use it effectively so that you can streamline your processes in the field. We want to make sure that you're spending less time doing the administrative side and more time in the field, obviously, to do more work, becoming more profitable. So to get started, everyone logs into PPW the same way. There's pretty simple here. I'm going to go ahead and log into our basically our test user, and everyone should see the same stuff when you log into yours once you start receiving work from us. And once you place your username and your password, you'll come to a general queue. As you see here, there are 3 work orders that are listed in the queue. There are many functions with PPW, but I'm going to go over the ones that are the most important for you to pay attention to. As you get into using PPW, you'll find other functions that make your lives a little bit easier, but we would be here for hours trying to explain every facet of what PPW offers. So the first thing is we have our general page, and down at the bottom is your queue where you receive your work. Up at the very top here are buttons that you use to navigate through the system. The most important one that we focus on is the Forms and Docs tab, aside from your general queue that you see. If you click on General or your Forms and Docs, you're going to go ahead and see every document that's needed for you to use in the field, as well as your pricing, any PCR reports that you're going to use, and very simply how to contact our office. We have various points of contact for you to call, to get questions answered, to help you manage through your day out there in the field. So if you just click on them, it's going to drop down a PDF, and it's going to look like this. So these are your contacts that you'll be using while you're onboarding with Keystone. For the most part, you'll be contacting our office or our customer service or our bid desk to get answers to the questions that you have in the field. And this person is Cindy. She manages our bid desk. Here's her extension and also her email. If for any reason that you call our office and you can't get someone, this is why we put our contacts up here so that you can see. You can just go ahead and try to call anybody. We want to get the answers to you, but obviously we are busy just like you guys are, and fielding phone calls. Sometimes we have a high rate of calls coming in, so we want to make sure that you get to the right person. So under Forms and Docs, under this tab here, you're just going to go ahead and look down here at the bottom and Office Contacts. We also have a short reference guide of what I'm going over today so that you can refer back to it so you understand how to process your work through PPW. And it's very simple, 4-step process to go ahead and update to us and navigate through this system. So that's there under Forms and Docs section for you to use later. We also have your pricing based off of your state that you're working in. And your PCR forms, if you needed to use them and take them in the field with you. Most of the PCR forms that you see here are actually digitized in your work order, so you don't necessarily have to pull these off unless it says specifically in your work order. So it's a general overview of your Forms and Docs section. This is your reference center. All of our memos are posted. Every time we change something or anything happens differently from our client, we'll go ahead and send you guys an email, and then we'll have that memo accessible under the Forms and Docs tab. The next portion that we'll go through is actually looking and reviewing a work order, taking it in the field, and then going ahead and updating back to us. But before I get into that, there is a little function here called the filter. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you want to find work orders, obviously there's only 3 in this queue, so it's not necessarily hard to find what you're looking for. But as you take on more work, it can be kind of overloading trying to find a work order in here. So you can simply check these boxes as far as the work order status to simply find the work orders that you're looking for. And if you see here, I've got 1 work order that's in the field. So if I want to find the work order that's in the field, I just simply look for that box and only check that one box of the work order that's in the field and run it. And then it would isolate that one work order so that you're looking for what you need. You also can create advanced filters. And this is something that you can do in your time, whereas you just simply click on different types for the field and you can save that and giving it its own name, and then that will always show up under this beautiful little button over here, which is the favorites, which is a yellow star, and it'll come up and list it as far as, hey, I'm looking for infield work for JHPP client, or I'm looking for just pre-sale initial secure work orders. Whatever it is that you're searching for, you can save that as an advanced filter. Another key component that there is on the PPW is a zip code lookup. We place zip codes in for your coverage, and if you receive a work order that is outside your coverage, if you place that zip code in this box here, it will populate whether or not that is your coverage area. This is a useful tool to let us know, hey guys, you guys have sent us a work order that is out of our zip code area or out of our coverage area. We need to have this reassigned. And then we'll definitely double check, and then we'll go ahead and resend that work order. So going into a work order, we'll go ahead and dial into a work order here, and we'll focus on this first one, which is a pre-sale initial secure. When you click on the work order, it's going to open up, and it's going to show you your general information. This is your general information tab. So it's definitely the first place you want to look, and it has all pertinent information. We're looking at your client, your address, the due date, and then the date that you need to turn it into us, as well as your work order text. All work order text is in detail describing your service that you need to perform at each property and anything that you need to know about that work order.
Of an engineering company.
We're living a better life now.
Sorry, I muted myself, people. Operator error. So with your work order text, you're going to have the information that you need to complete the work order. You can print out your work order so you can take it with you in the field. I highly recommend you always take a work order with you, just in case police show up, neighbors, anybody that wants to verify that you are a contractor, and this is what your work order will look like. You can take that with you as reference while you're in the field. Once you go ahead and print out your work order, you're ready to go ahead and do that work order in the field. So relying on the services that you perform based off of the work order text that's given to you and the services you're going to provide, you'll go ahead and do that work in the field and take photos to support everything that you're doing. Once you come back from completing your work order and you're ready to go ahead and process to us, you'll simply click on that work order once again, and you'll go in and you'll now be navigating these tabs up here at the top. Any kind of information that you need to share with Keystone, whether it be a question about the work order or receiving an authorization for additional funds for something you've called from site, these are all communicated within the Job Notes tab. And as you see here, we have job notes that have been placed for communication back and forth with the client, or with us, with you. So this is a useful tool communicating with Keystone. We want to make sure that all communications stay within the work order so that you have something to rely on saying, I called from site, there was an issue with the pool, I got an additional amount of money to go ahead and secure it, it was over a typical allowable. We want to make sure that communication goes in the work order so that we can justify payment that's over the typical amount or anything. To create a job note, very simply, you're going to create a new note. Clicking on a new note, you have two options, whether you want to communicate about a work order or the property itself. The difference between the two is a work order will only stay with that work order. And then within the property, your note will stay on that property no matter who does that work order. It could be you, it could be another contractor. It's always going to stay in there. So a good property note would be something like, the neighbor is disgruntled next door and he chases me down the street, and every time I go there, it's crazy. This warns your crews or potential other contractors going out there that there could be a problem with this property, and therefore they are prepared. It could be also something that there has been vandalism at this property, so that everyone is aware that there has been vandalism at this property, so we can keep track of things that happen at a property within any time. A work order is just that. You're going to send a note to someone about this work order. And you can use our contacts, or you can look at this little bar right here. You can click on it, and it will let you know who your assigned admin is to this property. And in this place, it's Cindy. So Cindy will basically answer your questions if you send her a note. But if you look at our contact page that we have, anybody that you start typing their name in there, whether it be me, whether it be Scott or Brittany, whomever, will start populating in here. So if I wanted to send something to Joe or myself, I would just go ahead and start typing. And then there's the name that I want to go ahead and talk to. And then once you select that, you're ready to go ahead and place your note in there. Very simply. Once you hit save, it's going to send an email to that prospective person, and it's also going to go ahead and place it on this work order. And as you can see, new contractor to Joe Hummel, this work order will be delayed due to weather. We will complete tomorrow and give us a date. This keeps it all on the work order so that everyone can see it no matter who is looking at this work order. We're all on the same page, and it reduces confusion of, oh, I don't know what's going on. So communication is always under the Job Notes tab, and we expect you to use this to communicate with us with any delays, any kind of issues, or pretty much anything. Once you're ready to complete your processing aspect, there's the PCR form tab. The PCR form tab is used for completing any kind of property condition report that is required on a work order. Now, I've got a bunch of different PCRs already attached to this work order just for a demonstration, but normally there would be one or two depending on your work order type. As you can see that there is a PCR form 72214. This is basically our general property condition report. You can fill this out in the field while you're on PPW on a laptop or a tablet. You can even do this on your phone. You just simply go ahead to that PCR tab, click on it, click your prospective PCR form, and it'll open up this. And you're looking at simple information that we need to go ahead and complete a work order. Now, it looks like a lot of information, but realistically, to complete your PCR form, we are only focusing on the top two sections. This general section here, all the way down to utilities. Anything from damages below, we're not necessarily focused on that because you are going to place that information on your bid completion page, which is the next step. So the top two sections, you're going to go ahead and perform on your PCR, and then that will allow you to go ahead and save down here at the bottom. So saving the PCR, once you have saved it, it'll let you know that the form has been saved, and then now you know that in your PCR that this has been saved at this time. If you don't see this, and it only says this, you didn't hit the save button, and you move on to the next tab and you go ahead and complete your work order and send it to us, we're going to send it back to you saying, hey, you didn't fill out your PCR form. We need this information to go ahead and complete this update to our client. Once you've completed your PCR form, going over to the bid completion page, this is the most intricate page of PPW. This is where all communication about what you see at the property and what you're billing for gets filled out. And as you can see, we have a bid information side and a completion information side. Anything that you're identifying damages or reporting as a bid and you're submitting for future work will always go on the bid completion or the bid information side. So as you can see, we've already filled out much of this bid completion page, and we're saying that there are 1 cubic yard of debris on the exterior, and there's 1 cubic yard of debris in the interior. And this is a description of what the debris is. We also have replace a rubber roof, replace an asphalt roof, and to go ahead and complete an initial grass cut because the grass is out of control. We also have a bid to remove infestable debris on the interior, and as well as there's some mold report at the basement and square footage. Now, with this, we see that this bid here with mold just has square footage. That's not necessarily going to be sufficient for us because we need to know where is it. It's 2,280 or 2,822 square feet, but where? So we're going to need a detailed description of what it is that you see, length, width, the dimensions. It's on ceiling joists, it's on kitchen cabinets, it's wherever. The more detailed bid that you place as far as where it is and what you're going to do to mitigate that, the better chance that we have as an approval with our client. You can place your price in this section. These are all edited pricing. We have typical pricings to follow for your bids as far as what we have learned that is a typical bid approval price from our client. But if you feel that you need something extra and these prices aren't adequate, go ahead and change them. But you must explain that in your bid itself. And if it's not necessarily a bid that you filled out in here, you can always attach that, and that's a little bit later under forms or under photos and documents. So once you've completed your bids as far as what you see as damage, you can go over and complete your completion information, where it is that you're going to tell us what you have done and you are attempting to bill for. If you have placed anything in this section, we need to have photos to support before, during, after all work performed. So if you've capped a water line, we need to have photos to support you're capping all of the water lines, you're cleaning a refrigerator, or removing 2 cubic yards of debris that's infestable. Once you've completed your completion side, you're pretty much ready to go ahead and save your bid completion page. It's important to do it right the first time because the information on the completion side will auto-populate your invoice. If you have to go back and add information in your bid completion page and save it again, you will then have to manually enter that into your invoice page. It will not auto-populate on the second or third try. It will only do it on the first time you've saved your bid completion page. And if you notice this number down here at the bottom, this is not how much money you've made at this property. This is only the bid aspect of what you've done. These are the potential bids that you're going to receive later as this property is approved by our client and maintenance is required. This is the amount for bids. Once you've finished this and everything is looking good for you and everything you have completed all of your reporting on damages required at the property as well as performing the actual tasks that you were supposed to do, you can go down here and hit save. Once you hit save, it's going to say information saved. This is crucial to see. If it doesn't say it up here, it's going to highlight something in red, and it's going to make you go ahead and redo that one section and hit save again. After you've saved that, you can always keep these later and archive them if you want, and you can just simply hit print contractor. So if anybody ever asks you for a bid or something, hey, we need a letterhead. Well, we've basically supplied you with a letterhead bid if we wanted to. Use that as a letterhead. It's got all of your information as far as what bid you're asking for. You can see your descriptions here, and then you can submit that for later use or for your records, however you wish. Our information that we're requiring is in PPW, and if we need it, we'll go ahead and print that out and use it for our clients if they ask for it. Moving on from bids and bid completion page, moving on, you can upload your photos. It's very simple to upload photos, and I think everybody knows how to upload photos pretty much everywhere. You simply upload photos. You can drag your photos from the files that you have, or you can browse Either way, if you're adding files and you're looking, just simply go ahead, highlight them, and you can drag them, or you can open them, whichever way you choose. Once you see them in there and you go ahead and start upload, it'll simply just upload the photos, and you can see the counter here. And it'll let you know what your status is, and you can follow along to make sure that all of your photos are being uploaded and you don't have any issues uploading any of the other ones. Anything that doesn't upload, you can go ahead and just re-upload that one. And we're not going to sit here and watch all the photos upload, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop that. So with your photos, we'll show down here at the bottom where it says unflagged. We don't require you to flag any of your photos. As you can see down here, all of the descriptions that you have pointed out on the big completion page populate your sections on your photos. We don't require you to have to flag your photos. We can go ahead and just take the photos that you have here, and we'll just view them however we want. But they're all listed here. And you can individually download them back to yourself by just clicking Get, or you can look at something in a little bit more detail by zooming into them. Now up here are actual bids that have been submitted, and they have been uploaded not as photos, but as documents. If you have a document that you need to upload to Keystone through PPW, the same process of uploading photos, you upload a document. The difference between the two is that you don't have to optimize your photos or shrink them down to a manageable format. PPW actually does that for us, and it will automatically resize your photos to 640 by 480. So if you upload a document to PPW under the photos, it's going to reduce the resolution of the document to where we can't read it. It will be too blurry. The document section does not resize. So that's why we need all of your documents to be uploaded as documents and not photos. And they separate them here so we can pull them off individually. And you can see in here, this is a bid PCR that this contractor has used on himself, something that he uses, but he wanted to give it to us. So we allow you to go ahead and upload those. If you have your own property condition reports you want to supply for documentation, that's fine, as long as you are using our format of the PCR to complete. It's totally up to you. After you finish uploading your photos, you make sure everything is there and you have all the photos to support your work completed or your bids that you're submitting. You're ready to move over to invoice. And everything populates from your big completion page on your completion information side over to your invoice. And we have it right here. If, say, for instance, something isn't necessarily there for you to bid on, or hasn't been captured for your invoice because you have had to add it to your big completion page, you just simply add a line. Pick your line item, and if it's not there in this section, you can always just click on Other and tell us what it is. You can simply say that, add in your quantity and your price. It's pretty expensive. If you hit save, it's going to ask you, since we've added this in here and it wasn't the first time that we saved this invoice date is not the current date. Would you like to make it the current date? This is where you say yes or no. Yes would be if you have a reopened work order that has been sent to you and it's after you've completed it the first time and it has been reopened and you have to complete it again, you would say yes. If this is the first time that you have completed your invoice and this is the first time you're submitting it to us, you would hit no. And it will keep the same date that was originally saved on your update. If you say yes and you've gone in here and requested us to send this work order back to you 3 or 4 days later because you've noticed that you forgot to put something in there to bill out for, and you go in and complete it and you say yes, it's going to change your invoice date to the date that you changed it to. And if it's 3 or 4 days, it's 3 or 4 days later in payment that you will receive. You get paid based off of the date that you submit the invoice to us. Once you've saved your invoice and everything is saved, you're essentially done your update to Keystone. You must go back to the very first section of this work order, which was the general information page. And over here is an awesome box for the estimated completion date and ready for office. When you've completed your work order, you will simply just go ahead and click the Ready for Office tab, and it will make this work order ready for office for us at Keystone, and it will leave your queue. Once it's left your queue, you can't make any alterations. You can't edit your work order anymore. Everything is completed. If you need to edit something, you can add a job note to it and say, hey, Cindy, Joe, whomever, I need to go ahead and pull this work order back. I have to add more information to it, and then you will resend it to the office. So that is basically the form or the functions of processing an order to Keystone. But I always save this one portion for the very end, which is the estimated completion date. This is probably the most problematic process of doing work, is letting Keystone know when you are going to complete your work order. It's important that when you first receive your work order, you go ahead and read your work order and know that you can do it. It will change the status of your work order from unread to in field. This tells us that you have acknowledged this work order. You're going to go ahead and do it. But without this date, we have no idea when you're going to get it done. And we know that there's a due date here. And obviously everyone understands in this industry that you have to complete something by the due date or before. We generally understand this. But there are circumstances that change that. And we need to know when you're going to get it done. So essentially, if this work order was due on June 18th and you received it on the 16th, you just simply say, hey, I'm going to get this one done by June 18th. And then you just obviously ignore that because it is October. So it would say saved at this portion here, and then it would let us know when it is that you're going to complete this work order. If this is blank, you get a barrage of emails and phone calls from our office wondering when you're going to complete this work order so that we can just simply leave you alone. If this is filled out, you go about your business and do your job, everything is fine. We know you're going to get it done unless you miss this date. If you miss this date, we're going to follow up with you and ask you, why did you miss your date? When are you going to get it done? Because we keep close contact with all of our clients as far as when we're going to get work done. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a huge issue. If, say, for instance, you can't get it done by June 18th, I'm going to be able to get it done by June 21st. That's fine. You'll put that date in there, and then you'll go up to the job notes and tell us why. I'm going to get this one done June 21st because my truck is broken down. It's in the shop. I'm expecting to get it out, and then we'll go ahead and complete this. I will get this one done. That allows us to give a commitment to our client that exceeds the typical due date, but we need to have a reason why. If you just simply say, because I want to get it done on 21st, that's not going to be acceptable. We will remove the work order and give it to somebody else. We need to make sure that we keep everything within timetables that our client allows us, but we understand that there are issues that happen in the field. Everyone that works for Keystone has been in the field at one point or another, and we all understand what happens in the field on a daily basis. Some things you just can't, plan for. Rain, trucks, mechanical issues, crews not showing up for work, dumpster deliveries that just aren't on time, angry mortgagers that are still at the property and you have to wait for them to be evicted, or whatever situation is out there. We just need to know. So an open line of communication is the most crucial to maintain a relationship with Keystone, because that's how we keep a secure contract with our clients, is that we talk to them and we want to know what's going on with you in the field, because some things we can change, due dates, or we can alleviate workload. We can shrink down a coverage area, totally dependent on what you're telling us. So without that communication, nobody knows anything, and it's just nothing but a big mess of emails and phone calls. So as far as the process of updating Keystone, we know that there are steps involved. You receive a work order from your general queue. You go into the work order and you read it. Once you've read the work order and you're good to go, you simply place your estimated completion date in there, when you're going to get it completed, and then you print your work order out and go into the field. Go into the field, do your work, come back to the PPW and log in. Dial on your work order you're completed, go to your PCR form, select your PCR form that's there, that is required. It will show that it's there. If it's there, you need to fill it out. Fill out your PCR form and hit save down at the bottom. Once you hit save, you can move on to your bid completion page, and you'll fill out all of the information that's needed for all of your bids or estimates or damage reports that your findings while at the property, as well as what you have completed and you are seeking payment for. Once you've completed that, you will hit save on your bid completion page, and you'll move over to your photos. Moving over to your photos, you'll upload your photos, and you'll upload any documents that were there, if any. Once you've done that, you move over to your invoice, verify that everything that you have completed that you are billing for is there, and anything special, anything that wasn't added, you go ahead and add, and then you will save your invoice. And being that this would be the first time that you saved your invoice, you would say, I want to make it to current date. Yes, it's going to save at this date. Once you have saved your invoice, you go back to the general information page and you click ready for office. And once the property is now ready for office, if you see, it is now ready for office. This status bar up here. And then once it's ready for office, it is no longer in your queue. You can run a filter. You're not going to see it. So you want to make sure that you complete your work order correctly, because if it goes into the ready for office queue in our office, we're processing. If we find anything wrong, obviously we're going to send it back. We're going to communicate with you. If you notice you have any mistake, just simply send an email. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Kim so you can open it up for questions if anybody has any. And I can give you some information as far as troubleshooting.
Really know Dak Prescott is a proven commodity. Kenny Hill, while he has the potential, it's just not there yet.
Well, when you look at these two teams,
Does anybody have any questions?
No, I think I'm.
Everybody okay?
Awesome.
Okay. I guess one thing that I've got to ask is, how many times do you get into the situation where you've got somebody in the house that needs to be evicted?
Oh, realistically, that doesn't happen very often. I would say 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. But if there is someone there, we don't do work on an occupied property, so you would call from site for direction. If our client said it needed to be an eviction, 9 times out of 10 that's going to a different department anyhow. Just use that as an example.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of some questions.
Yeah, don't be shy, guys. If you got questions, by all means, pitch them out there.
Now, Kim, you said something whenever I first started this, that PPW is going to go with an app. Do you know when that's going to be released? Either you or Joe, do you guys know when that's going to be released for like the Android system?
Now, PPW has actually created an application that they are beta testing currently with select companies. I would anticipate whether, within the next months, to come here probably before the end of the year, that they will roll this application out so that people using PPW can use the app in the field. We currently actually use an application for one client, and I'm glad you asked that question because there's a portion of our PPW that is bypassed using that app. If, say, for instance, you are completing work with a client code that says JHEPP, that is the only client that we use their photo direct application on Android and iPhone systems. And you can find the directions as far as to install that app for that work under the Forms and Docs section, and it says here Photo Direct. And there's the manual for Android and iOS, as well as a little reference here of knowing when you are supposed to be using that Photo Direct app. And you can just check you're only using it for these clients that you see here, and they are located on your general information page under Client Company. You'll see JHEPP. You'll know you'll be using that app. Every other client that you see, you'll just go ahead and upload photos using a point-and-shoot camera.
All right. I'm looking forward to the app.
Yeah, so
yeah, we're all looking forward to the PPW app. It's going to streamline a lot of the stuff that we already do. It's just going to make it so much easier. I've used it when in their beta when I was in Orlando for the conference. Sat down with PPW and actually got to use the photo their application for PPW. It's pretty awesome. I'm just waiting for them to iron out the bugs and then go ahead and put it into the system. And it also has a compatibility with Aspen Grove. If you have an Aspen Grove ID, you can go ahead and check in at properties. It's pretty awesome.
Question. When this app comes out, will it be eligible for all clients?
Yeah, for us. Yeah, absolutely. We will be using it for everyone. The only one that we can't change is that JHEPP. They've mandated their app. They won't let anybody else use anything else, but all of our other clients don't have a problem with PPW using their app.
Okay, wonderful.
yeah, right now JHEPP is pretty much limited to New Jersey and Pennsylvania work orders. You know, everybody else is all throughout the other states. So anybody that's in North Carolina, South Carolina, you don't really have to worry about that right now.
Yeah, you'll be using a point-and-shoot camera, or when PPW decides to roll out their app, you'll be using that app.
Yeah, that's going to be nice.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
I'm trying to think anything else I got to ask about this.
I would just say that most of the issues that we ever have with anyone coming on board and doing work is just very simply placing that estimated completion date in there, letting us know when you're going to complete the work. So then that just keeps it, you know, you're independent, you're doing your thing. We don't want to bother you. We know that you're going to do the work. You've onboarded with us. We just want to know when we should be expecting it in case our client asks for it. Other than that, the tabs are pretty self-explanatory as long as you follow the steps. PCR, bid completion, putting your photos in, and then verifying your invoice is correct. And then, last but not least, ready for office so that we can go ahead and take care of it. If you do make mistakes in the beginning, that's fine. You know, we work with, you know, troubleshooting these things. We'll give you feedback, let you know, hey, you weren't very descriptive on your bids. We need to have some locations, dimensions. But if you look at your work order, it will tell you specifically what it is that you need to do, and as well as certain required photos. If these photos are listed on your work order, if you just take these photos here, you know, you're pretty much free and clear of ever having to go back to the property for something, unless it's your reported mold and you've only got 2 photos. You know, so we want to make sure that you have adequate photos to support your bid and the required photos for us to complete our processing to our client. And every work order is tailored different to our client, and it gives you your specific instructions that you need to follow.
Question. That ready for office tab that you would click, is that after everything has been submitted and it's ready to get submitted to you guys for bid approval?
Yeah. Everything that once you're finished with this work order and you're done, you're seeking payment and as well as completion, you just go ahead and click that box, ready for office, and then you're done with this work order. If you happen to do it, and that isn't something I have seen, is someone who would submit a job note trying to communicate with us, and they'll click ready for office, and then we'll have to send the work order back to them. While this is in your system, in your queue, We can go in and edit and change anything that needs to happen while it's in your queue. You don't ever have to send it back to us unless you're completed with it.
Another question. Once that everything's been submitted, if only a couple of the bids were approved or denied, would a new work order be issued for any additional follow-up work, or would it be added to that existing work order?
A new work order would be created.
Okay, good.
And then there is a function in the bid completion page where you can show your past bids. So if you've looked in your bid completion page and you've received a new work order, and this was all blank, and it was a brand new work order, you could go up in the bid completion page and show past bids, and it would show you all of your bids that you've submitted to verify that the work order you received is matching your price that you submitted a bid for. So if there's, yeah, it's pretty sweet. And it also helps just to track history of the property. And if you're going to a property subsequent times, something has changed, you can copy these bids and place them into your bid completion page. So if you're just monitoring and there's new mold growth, you could just copy your mold treat and clean. You want to copy the bid, and it puts it right down here at the bottom. And then all you have to do is just edit the square footage, say it grew a little bit more. And then boom, you can just go ahead and save it. It saves a lot of time using this function for show past bids.
Okay. So that past bids thing, you could almost use your old bids to submit new bids to new work orders.
Yes, absolutely.
Keeps consistency.
Yeah, it keeps it consistent with your terminology and as well as locations. It just so happens that you're going to have to edit square footage in some of the locations if you had anything going on that changed, but it just makes it so much simpler to go ahead and copy it into a new work order, keeping it consistent.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, another thing is all of our pricing is in the system. So if it has zero pricing, it's a miscellaneous item. You'll see that it'll populate $0. That's because we don't have a specific price set in place for this function. We're looking for your price. So you place your price in there, and we'll submit it as is. If it's something that's extreme or very excessive, you'll get feedback letting you know that, hey, you can't charge 10 grand to secure a 450 square foot pool. You know, you should know this, but maybe that was a typo, and maybe it should have been 1,000. But still, it might be a little excessive. But just take that feedback as, you know, we're just trying to help each other out so that we get maximum approvals.
Okay, and what kind of, I guess the burning question I got is what kind of turnaround do we have on payment on most of these?
On payment is always on a 45-day net. So that's pretty much how it works. You go 45 days, but then it's weekly payments after that. So you get paid weekly, 45 days in the rear.
Okay. So the first one's the 45-day week.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we drop checks, I believe, every Wednesday. If you have a direct deposit, make sure you get your direct deposit information in. Kim will forward that on. That's awesome. If you don't elect the direct deposit, we drop paper checks in on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Just kind of one of those things I just wanted to clarify. That's all.
Gotcha. Hey man, that's a good question. I'd ask that.
Yeah.
I think everybody,
Yeah.
hey man, when am I going to get paid for doing this?
Yeah. No, never. That's
Never.
awesome. We do everything for free.
Exactly.
I'm gonna leave the meeting immediately.
No! We're looking for free, please.
Awesome. But realistically, while you're working and you're receiving work, especially in your first, when you're in your net period, there's a lot of oversight. We're watching almost everything that you do. We want to make sure that you're doing it correctly. You'll get a lot of feedback, especially from me. I'll call you up. I'll let you know, hey, you're doing this, and this. We need to change a little bit of that, or give me some of the feedback that you're seeing at these properties. Just so we can build that relationship to make sure that we're all on the same page. The most important thing that Keystone is about is building a relationship with the contractor for a long-term relationship. This isn't something that we're looking for. Hey, you're going to use us. You're going to take work from us for 6 months. We've got contractors who've been with us for years. You know, they just want to do work, and we work off of what you do. We change our systems. We create digital PCRs. We change our pricing. We do almost everything to satisfy the need of the contractor, just so that you understand that we're in this together. It's a team effort. So any kind of gripe, complaint, vent, some kind of, you know, you're upset, give me a call. I'll talk to you about it. You know, I'll work it out with you. And if we can't see eye to eye, you know, I'm pretty sure I can find someone that would be reasonably, you know, understanding to be able to get that ironed out. You know, Kim is a really good liaison with all of our vendors, and sometimes I feel sorry for him because sometimes, you know, people are upset, you know, but we want to make sure that the relationship is solid.
Yes.
But we only get that by communication and understanding what you're doing in the field and education. So as systems change, as industry changes, a lot of us understand that the industry is constantly changing. We try to do our best to give you the extra information, everything that you need so that you don't have to ask any questions. You can just go to work and just roll with the changes. If there is a problem, do reach out. And as you can see, when I clicked on this new work order, our pricing has changed for a lot of items. So the last work order I was using, you saw some of those prices were a little bit lower. We've increased our pricing pretty much with every client to satisfy what's going on out in the field and match it with profitability with the price of materials. And Kim has worked out a good relationship with a materials company that gives you guys access codes to get extreme discounts on materials. Kim, if you just wanted to relay some of that information, because I know this is something that we just newly formed.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so you know, the company that I've been working with is a company called PP Materials. They're based out of New York. They've given us some really nice prices on things like lock boxes, deadbolts, just about everything. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be distributing an email to our contractors to let them know what the prices are. You can order direct from them, and you can also order online, or you can order through email. So you have a bunch of different ways to order and save yourself some money that puts money back in your pocket. That's really important to us. And one of the things that you'll find is that as we go along, they're going to be offering us other opportunities to save some money. So I will make sure that email gets out to you along with a price list. I think you'll be very happy with that, and it can all be drop shipped to your offices or homes, however you'd like to keep your supplies. But we want to make sure everybody has that because we understand that supplies aren't cheap, especially if you're going to Lowe's or Home Depot or any one of those big box stores. Brick and mortar places are going to really charge you, more than you need to pay. So just stay tuned for that. That email will be coming out today. We just solidified everything yesterday, so this is still very fresh for all of us. Anybody else have any other questions? Don't be shy.
Question is, it's 45 days out for payment, and then it's weekly thereafter.
Correct.
Okay. As far as the startup venture, how I'm getting into this, there is a chance I may run out of operating capital before that 45 days would come due.
Yep.
Is there a chance that... Can you see what I'm getting at here?
He's in the same position now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is pretty much how I've done this since the very beginning. Startup capital to get into this can be extreme depending on what you're doing. So with every new contractor, what we do is we monitor the type of work that you are performing so that essentially we kind of keep your investment pretty low to where it's mostly fuel and time and minimal materials. If there comes a time that you run out of capital and you can't purchase locks or you can't purchase anything like that, we'll allow you to purchase your stuff from us and then we'll bill you for it. And then we usually set out that bill period 60 days out so that even if you took on an initial package of locks or carriage bolts or whatever and we shipped them to you, and you would essentially, your second week of payment that you would start to receive, you would start paying that back. So we're really flexible on a lot of things, but I manage everyone's outgoing work to make sure that, okay, you're not going to go out there and do 10 initial trash outs in the first week that you do business with us. You know, we'll give you one here and there, and we'll keep it so it's a solid stream of incoming revenue with minimal amounts of materials that you have to purchase or use in the first 40, 45 days. I mean, you might say, hey, 5-gallon bucket of roof tar, you know, some kills or something like that, but the amount of, you know, small work that you're going to do is going to add up to get you through that first net.
Because as far as operating capital versus fuel and materials, until that 45-day window would come out, as you just said, I'd be limited to a certain amount of locks I'd be able to purchase. I'd pretty much be limited to, as in grass cuts, winterizations, and maybe a few initial secures here and there, but until that 45-day window would transpire, that would just help graciously.
Yeah, and that's what we focus on. That's where that feedback and communication comes from. You know, we want to understand what you're doing, is, you know, financially too. You know, we understand that there's a lot of cash floating around in a net. You know, we want to make sure that you're not running dry and then I can't do any work. Well, as you're not doing any work and waiting to get paid, those weeks are to become low payments 45 days later, and you're going to run into the same situation. So I monitor all of that very closely as far as the types of work that you get in your first 45 days working with us.
Okay.
Hey, Rob, I'll follow up with you after this.
That's great.
Thanks. It keeps me up at night. But I want to make sure that everybody gets through this because I understand the amount of investments involved, especially the types of work that you guys are doing out there. You know, it's an issue that should definitely be looked at when onboarding new contractors, and we focus on it heavily.
There'd be an interest charge on that?
What was that?
There'd be an interest charge on do that?
Well, it's not necessarily an interest charge. It's more or less. You know, I think we upsell, you know, an extra $1 or something like that for the materials. You know, it's just usually to cover shipping. So if you're paying $5.50 for a deadbolt, normally on like MFS Supply, you're going to pay $6.50, but we allow to bill later.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't know when it comes out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Good, Rich.
How many different locks will we need? Like, I purchased a bunch of locks for another company and never used half of them.
This is under the
So how many
forms
different?
under the Forms and Docs tab. If you go into
Right.
Training Docs, recommended lock inventory,
Okay.
it's going to show you the locks that we require, but which ones are heavily used. So typically we'll use all these key codes, but these are the most commonly used.
And what determines what lock we use?
The insurer regulator, it's
Okay.
a random key code. We'll see a wave of, you know, of different key codes in any time. So like right now, we're seeing a lot of the 44535s, as well as the, what is that, 35241. And it's basically on a client, and they're supposed to be based off the industry regulation a random key code. So that what makes it so difficult for us. You have to have them all in stock.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm trying to think of anything. I mean, Joe's done a pretty good job of explaining everything here, so it's not leaving much room for questions in there.
Awesome. Well, that's what we aim to do. But if you do have any questions, you can't think of them now, I mean, you can send us these. If you're thinking about them later, shoot me an email, give me a call. My contact information obviously is on the contact sheet, so you can call me. My extension, even if I leave the office, you can dial my extension. It forwards out. So I'm pretty much accessible all day long. So just like you guys are working all the way up till like 10 o'clock at night, sometimes 11 o'clock, I'm out there working with you. So I want to make sure that you can go ahead and contact me. Call the contact number. We'll chit chat. I'll go over anything that you need, or you can call Kim. Kim, he can help you out with some things if you can't get a hold of me. But as we start onboarding and sending work, questions will arise, I guarantee you. So we'll be anticipating answering some phone calls. With the communication from site, call the office, dial extension 0. You're going to get the bid desk, and they're the smartest group of ladies that I know, and they're going to be able to tell you how to maximize. Being that you asked that question, or you said that, we have in forms and docs under pricing. We have this little thing called the allowable cheat sheet. This is basically a cheat sheet that you should keep in your truck, and it allows you to maximize every visit that you go to a property. These are allowables that the clients let us use, so we don't have to call from site. So as you're doing your work and you sit in your truck and you're like, did I miss anything? Depending on your loan type, if it's an FHA loan, or if it's a Fannie Mae loan, or if it's a Freddie Mac, you can go through this checklist and run down this list and see if you can do anything additional at that property to make some more money. So we offer that. Go ahead.
I guess I do have one question. Considering that my company specifically focuses on, right now, as it stands, specifically focuses on being an electrical contractor. I haven't seen very much that says anything about electrical problems that might exist in the place, and me bidding those out to, specifically replace parts that are out of code or, or broken or such like that.
I got you. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I saw there was like the separate. You're flying around the screen right now. I'm looking at what you were doing. There was that separate screen that showed the bid page.
Okay.
Like the quotes, basically. So is it allowable for like me to say, hey, look, I noticed there's a big problem with this panel, or the panel isn't up to code. Here's a bid to replace the panel.
Absolutely.
How would that go through the process?
Process would be is you've identified something that a normal contractor in property preservation would bid that out of scope most times because they're not a licensed electrician, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Typically what a normal contractor would do would be to bid to have someone like you come out and give an estimate. So being that you can do that, you skip a process. So you can go ahead and submit your bid. The more detailed the bid is, I would recommend if you're a licensed electrician and you have that ability, you would be attaching, not only explaining it here, but go ahead and attaching your document of your letterhead bid.
Okay, a quote, yes.
Yeah, go ahead and upload that document, and I'm going to tell you that all of our clients love that. Anytime that we can get in touch with a general contractor or a licensed plumber, electrician, and get them in our network, that skips the process of normal property preservationists submitting these bids to get someone to come and give a third-party bid. So we welcome all of that. And then what we do is we use a cost estimator to validate, electrical bids or structural or anything huge, just to validate it with our client if they have any questions about it, just to make sure that the pricing is consistent, or if there's terminology might be missed that our client will deny that bid, we'll go ahead and add that stuff in there just to make sure that we can get that bid back.
Okay.
So you would essentially put your price for your repair, just like here. Put your terminology in there, and then attach your letterhead bid.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I have, there's there's several different ways that I could go with this. You know, I've got my roofing end, you know, the electrical end, of course. You know, I got some specialists that help me to accomplish some things. So that gives me a good idea as to exactly how I'm going to tackle that whenever I come up against it.
And then that is something that that's awesome. And you can even see when we go into our work order that it specifically says even if a work order or anything is out of scope, we still report it. So say for instance someone is in your area that's taking on work right along with you, and he submits a bid that's out of scope, and we might even send you out there to give that bid, and then keep it in the family, so to speak, so that we're maintaining the property within our network and not sending it back to the client to send another contractor out there that probably isn't doing it as well as us.
You would not believe the amount of fire hazard entry panels that are out there right now.
Oh yeah, and I see it more or less in pictures and people saying, this is out of scope. I need to get an electrician out here, do an electrical inspection. I'm like, okay, other contractors might even.
Other contractors going to be out there doing that.
Yeah, that's fine. And other contractors, we like to share information. As far as, hey, I've got a guy out here in such and such area that can do your electrical inspections for you. Instead of submitting a bid to get someone out there, let's just get them out there and then, go ahead and submit the bill that we've already done it, instead of waiting for an approval to get the bid back to get the third party out there to go ahead and get the damages estimated on. This pushes the property to its final completion, and that's what our clients ultimately want. They want us to take care of this stuff. They don't like approving bids to get someone else out there to identify the damages. So having someone like you is beneficial for the entire region.
Okay, so everybody that's listening right now, I'm out there doing electrical work. Hi, my name's Jason.
And where are you, Jason?
I am in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
Meadville.
West side of PA, about 30 minutes south of Erie.
Nice. So if anybody's doing work on the west side of PA, you're on this training call, we'll get you guys connected. Just shoot us an email. Kim's really good at trying to connect the dots between our contractors, just so that they understand what's going on. And you have more resources out there. You know, big happy family.
Yeah.
Very good, guys.
Awesome. So realistically, if anybody's got any questions or any concerns, you got our email addresses, you got our phone numbers, give us a call. We'll talk about it. Until then, we'll be working on sending you some work in the field. Just know that periodically a QC inspector might come out there and want to talk to you. We do QC our work. We have a QC program where field QC guys are out there looking at initial secures, completed bid work, convey work orders, just to make sure that we stay out of hot water. They'll offer you feedback, and if you need to, you can request one to come and walk you through the property so that you understand exactly how we would do it if we were in the field.
Very good.
Just so we match systems there, and we don't leave any money on the table. That's pretty much our biggest concern, is leaving money on the table, and that's where this comes in. There's extra cash in these properties to go ahead and complete services that are not assigned to you on your work order. But the federal insurer wants you to complete these things the first time you go to the property. So if you have these abilities to go ahead and take care of them aside from your work order, go ahead, jump out there and get crazy.
Okay.
So
I'm on it.
So that cheat sheet is all the allowables for the initial services.
Yes, for every loan type.
And that's just initial services, and that's not return visit.
That's return visits and post sale. So if you say you're going to a property to go in and put a lockbox on, and it is a where's it at? And it is a Fannie Mae property, you have all these allowables here to take advantage of while you're doing that lockbox. So yeah, lockbox isn't profitable. I'm driving 30 miles to go put a lockbox on there. You identify these damages. These damages reset every time someone walks on a property. So you patch a portion of the roof. You get back there a month later, there's another portion of the roof that's damaged and needs to be patched. Obviously, you've already submitted a repair to replace the roof, but it hasn't been approved. We're waiting. the property still needs to be maintained. So you can go back and max out that patch allowable every time you go.
For every visit being initial or return.
Every initial or return. Now you can't go ahead and do the same repair that you've done the previous visit because obviously that doesn't make any sense. But new damages, absolutely. And an
So
example.
say you're on one side. Yeah, say if the damage is on one side of the roof, and then you come back, it's on the other side of the roof.
Yep.
Same allowable is there. Whenever you return back there.
Yep. And then an example of that is pumping basements. It's really messed up.
Yeah.
Some pumps are in these properties and they work, but the client hasn't transferred power. So the basement floods, and you've been to that property, I don't know, once every month. Every month you go back there and pump the basement. And you identify, hey, I got to pump this basement. There's standing water in here. There's a sump pump that's operable, so I can't change that out. Or I've already done it. And the sump pump's operable, the utilities have not been transferred. I'm going to pump this basement. And you pump the basement. I've had a guy make, I don't know, $5,000 pumping basements over a 6-month period of time. You know what I mean? Because every time he goes back there, and all he does is plugs the sump pump to his generator. Pumps water out.
I'm a generator dealer, so yeah, it's already there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's already there.
You know what I mean? So these are the types of things that you could take advantage of while you're in the property. And FHA, they want you to take care of the property the first time you go there, or every time you go there. Take as much care of the property as you can.
Okay,
so they allow
I get the point now.
Yeah,
I totally get the point.
This goes to the heart of the matter, what I was telling everybody, that you have to look past the $27 knob change because every property has Easter eggs. Remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You want to maximize your visit, and how you do that is using these allowable cheat sheets, understanding it. I mean, you can understand that when you go to a property, going there for a lockbox, and there's going to be shoddy contractors that have been there before, haven't done their job properly, just to cap gas lines or cap water lines. Anything that needs to have a cap on it, put a cap on it as long as it's not over a drain. So you can cap anything, and you just go max out all of those allowables. You turn a $20 lockbox into, $200-300, managing these allowable lists. And then it's how many of those properties can you do in a day, and then you maximize your visit, you maximize your profitability. You start making more money than the guy who's only paying attention to his simple work order instructions. You want to take care of the property. That's what you want to do. That's your job. Your job is to make sure that the property is safe, secure, and not causing damage to itself, deteriorating the asset. You do that by simply just going in there in town, reviewing these pricing, and calling from site with issues. We'll call. I don't care what it is. We'll call a client. Hey, man, this is going on at the property. You're going to run a risk here. We need to take care of it. Okay, go ahead and do it. Boom, you just made extra money that wasn't on your work order just because you've identified something.
Gotcha.
And then with that cheat sheet and the allowables, do you just add line items on your work order when you get home?
Yep. You go into your work order, and on the completion side of when you're going into your bid completion page, you're going to just list them all right here. So
and
you
can add as many as need be.
Absolutely. Your job there is to make this thing have 100 line items on it. So if you had said that this guy went there for initial work order, and while he was there, I want to say that that one was an allowable usage, this was allowable usage, this was allowable usage, this was an allowable usage, this was an allowable usage. So if you just take those out, he's reduced his invoice in half. But if you put those in there, that's what made this price here. And realistically, he was there for, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. To me, that's a really good return on 3 hours.
That's all I have for now. I mean, obviously, as we get going, more questions are going to come up, but that's pretty straightforward as far as getting started with that cheat sheet.
Yeah. And all that information is right here, forms and docs. Go through and read everything you can. We've got our pricing on there. If you're in PA, Here's all your pricing. Just basically break it down for you. These are allowable stuff. Our different clients, what they're paying. But then we have those beautiful little things on these cheat sheets. The cheat sheet, I mean, we put a lot of time into trying to figure out what we can get away with in a property to, maintain it as well as make extra money. And as the industry constricts, it makes it harder and harder for a guy to go make money out there unless you have that inside information and you're working with it.
Right.
So paying attention to these functions here are, I mean, you can't go wrong. And as well as your memos. There's a lot of memos in here as far as what you need to do, things to change, yada, yada, yada. So just read up on that good stuff there, and everything is always referenced in forms and docs. You'll get an email if anything changes first. It's a memo blast that goes out, and then we put it up here for reference.
No, that was the other. You brought up emails, Joe.
Yeah.
I want to touch base on that real quick because a couple people have already had some experience with that. When we load work orders into PPW for you, you'll receive an email notification that they're there. So,
Yes.
so that's just to let you know that you have work orders pending. And it'd be smart for you, of course, to go and check on those as quickly as possible. Normally, I'd say 4 or 5 days of lead time on each property, but you may get a couple there that are kind of emergencies, and you may have a shorter turnaround time. Doesn't happen too often, but that email alert system is really great. I get them too, so they go to my phone. They also go to my email box. So you don't work off the email, but work off the PPW work order, and you'll be straight.
Sounds
Okay, the
good.
email's just to let you know that things are there.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll say very simply, you have a new work order, PPW. You can go ahead and log into PPW and see the work order is there.
Yeah,
But it's just over. Yeah.
I have everything so intertwined with my smartphone and tablets and everything like that now that it's up to the second. Like as soon as you send me something, bang, it's right there. I can see it on my phone.
Yeah,
So,
and it works out perfectly. You can even you can use this PPW system on a tablet. I actually use it the most on my Nexus 7, the little tablet that I walk around with. It's way easier than carrying around a laptop.
yeah.
And especially if anybody's using an iPad, you can take your photos right then and there. With a tablet, just upload them right into the PPW, and you can update from the field. The beautiful thing about doing that is we see that stuff instantaneous, and then we have the ability to call you and say, hey, well, there's something missing here. We need you to go ahead and take care of it. You could be a couple minutes from the property, or it could just be a return visit reversing your route. So we want to make sure that we're all real time about it, and it speeds up the process. The faster we get these work orders done, the more work orders that we get, the bigger the volume builds, and that's just history.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess we'll go ahead and end it here, and then refer everybody to, just send us an email or a phone call, something, if you need anything, and then just watch out for some work.
Yeah.